Welcome to the Health Revolution, the show that leads you to a life of vibrant well-being. In a world full of noisy health trends, we bring you clarity through a sea of fads. We reveal the science behind the strategies that truly work. We explore physical strength, emotional resilience, and mental mastery, the keys to an enriched life. See inspiring interviews with the champions who've conquered life's challenges. Are you ready to unlock your potential to live with vitality and purpose? Then join the Health Revolution. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison, health and fitness expert, speaker, and a mom who understands. Let's embark on this transformative quest together. If you want to change the game, it all starts now. Welcome, everybody. You are watching the Health Revolution, and we're excited that you're joining us today. I'm your host, Adriana Morrison. No matter which way you're tuning into us, please do not forget to hit the subscribe button so that we can stay connected to you. Also, at the bottom of your screen, there is a tab for show episode notes. Be very mindful of that. There's some important information about today's episode. Now, whether you're tuning into us for the first time or you are a repeat viewer, we welcome you today. We talk about all things elevating the physical strength of the human body, emotional resilience, and mental mastery. And today, we're really diving into what does it mean to have empowerment through your heart space? What does heart space mean? How do we create that energy for transformation? And how do we transcend our lives to a higher level of strength and resilience? Today's guest is someone who I'm excited to talk about. We're going to dive into all of that because that mindset is something that can be a pickle of an obstacle. First, let's get to know her. Take a look at this. Meet Kelly Keefe, an Aquarian Age thought leader, international best-selling author, and founder of the Heartspace. With over 20,000 hours of study, practice, and teaching, Kelly has become a catalyst for transformation, empowerment, and purpose, helping individuals align with their highest potential. Her book, Rise Above Fear, is a powerful guide that inspires readers to identify and overcome the blocks holding them back. Through actionable insights and deep wisdom, Kelly empowers women to embrace their destiny, step into their power, and live a life filled with ease, grace, and fulfillment. As a Reiki master teacher and subconscious mind expert, Kelly helps her clients live from their heart space and unlock the life they truly desire. Today, we will learn how to rise above fear, align with your purpose, and create a life of empowerment and joy. Kelly Keefe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm curious. Let's go right off the jump. What is an Aquarian Age thought leader, and what led you to want to take on this role and make this impact?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to say, I don't know if I chose it. I feel more so it chose me, such as so many of us tapping into the call that's on our lives, as I know you can relate to, of, just following the call and answering and being of service. We shifted into a different time in 2021. Where the energies at play are a little bit different. We're starting to see a lot of what has been the norm within our own inner world and the external global world are changing quite a bit, which is identified as the Aquarian Age. So through the last 13 years of study and personal transformation and helping others, it's set me with a space to really have a deeper understanding and support others of how do we thrive in these times of adapting to what is and getting closer of a better relationship to change and to fear so we can really be our full self and thrive in this world that's a little different and crazier than we were used to.
A lot of times we all have our turning points. And was there a turning point that coincided with you really embracing this path to lend your voice and to grow and to be of servitude this way? Have you always had the space? Have you always felt that you were led in this direction? Or what was your turning point? What was that point in time in life where you thought, for sure, this is the avenue that I'm going?
Yeah, I feel it's been a lot of micro moments of hitting the acceptance. There's always this feeling of there's something more. And I find that this is common in a lot of those that I work with. They can feel this sense of there's something more for my life. There's something that I could be doing more. And if I didn't know exactly what it was or how to get there. And then it was a lot of micro shifts of a weight loss journey and then going into meditation and yoga and then being called through a very interesting experience of the healing arts. I kind of continued to listen to calls step by step. And as it was growing, I kept hitting these walls. I felt like I was taking 3 steps forward and then, 2 steps back, sometimes 6 steps back. And I started to be led to study more of the subconscious mind and how to unlock the human potential and understanding my own operating system to then be able to start to say, oh, there's programming here that I need to go back and change. And I need to change my relationship to fear to be able to reach these new heights. And as I started to do the personal inner work, I started to see the professional work coinciding with it and being able to answer the call and take bigger steps.
So in society, we have a tendency to fear fear, or we give too much credit to fear that it is a bigger entity than what it actually is, that we're really grappling in the moment at that level of uncertainty. Have you always taken fear head on, or were there moments in which you had your own learning lessons in really tackling fear and what that means?
Yeah, and it's something that I still get to play with every day. I think that was one of the biggest things, spending so much time studying fear and being able to begin speaking on it and teaching, is really changing the belief system around it. That fear is not something that is a one time I slayed fear and I overcame it and I'll never, have to deal with it. Rather, it's showing we're edging what we've known. It's an edging of reaching our next level of potential or expansion in our lives. And so beginning to understand, oh, there's places where I had no fear. Pack my life into a suitcase and go travel the world on a one-way ticket, no fear. To put myself out there in the world and sharing my writing or start to speak on stages, I'd always been a dream, massive resistance and fear. So it's different spaces and really starting to understand it's a relationship. It's not something that I'm going to be able to one and done, but rather how do I learn to acknowledge its presence when it's there? And how do I move through its presence in a more graceful way so it doesn't stop me from my growth, but rather see it for what it is and use it as fuel to take the next step?
Why do we fear fear so much? Why is this a big, what in your studies, what is our big Achilles heel with fear?
Yeah, as humans, we are extremely uncomfortable with the unknown. There is a sense of needing to know what's going to happen, even though it's not real. We have this false pretense that we can know what's going to happen, so we try to stay in our safety zone. And the subconscious mind, our original operating system, is can only go off of the things that it knows and wants to keep us safe. So if there's ever a time that we're going to step out of something that is within the comfort zone, there's an alarm inside going off, which is fear, saying, not safe. We don't know what's going to happen. Don't go that way. Danger, danger. Think of when the times where if we went out, we might get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. But there's no more saber-toothed tigers. We don't have to worry about that as much at all, really, at this time. But it comes from a place of our ego trying to keep us safe. It loves us so much that's trying to say, don't go that way. We don't know what's going to be out there. And so we don't want you to get hurt. We don't want something to happen. And so it's trying to pull us in, which is its intention so beautiful. When we look at it that way, we can always be like, oh, that fear is holding me back. But we can start to say, wow, this thing loves me so much. It's trying to keep me safe. We get to start to change the relationship and say, it's okay that we don't know. And be able to start to, there's practices that, we talk about in my book and through different talks of how do we start to speak and befriend the fear so that we're able to give it a voice and help it to realize that it's not so scary after all, and that we can really see and honor its intentions.
Why do you think we struggle as a society to overcome fear when we're hearing more messages about the encouragement of let go of the fear and the things that you talk about of really just looking past it, even trusting the process, showing up consistently. Why is it that we struggle? Is it that are there certain societal impressions, or maybe there's that societal pressure to keep things a certain way? Or what have you seen? And I know this is more of a global question, but what keeps us not moving, not really creating our own breakthrough success?
Yeah, great question. Powerful question. Again, a lot of it does come to that space of the unknown. As a society, it's, oh, this is comfortable. We know, we think we know it. Again, it's a false story we're telling ourselves, and we know what will happen if we keep things this way. And so many are not knowing quite yet that how we show up in our day to day life is based off of our subconscious programming. 80 to 90% of how we show up in our lives is being run off of the subconscious programming. And our subconscious programming was developed from age 0 to 11. So, in many ways, how we perceive the world of what is right, wrong, or our perspectives of different things, our own habits and patterns and beliefs, those were all developed from before we were even preteens. And so often as society, if we haven't explored, is this truly how I feel today? Is this the reality of what's happening today? And have we looked at the things that happened in our lives as children that maybe formed us to having different perspectives? Well, then there's no room for there to be that change because one, the awareness isn't there. But two, there's a fear of if we do this, if we change this, then everything will go wrong. Which, as we can see, in some ways, when we don't allow change and try to hold things, everything could still go wrong. So,
That's true. And you bring up a good point that there's a lot that we've been pressed upon us as we were younger. So then in following your theory, so when we were young kids, the timeline, maybe a turning point in events, certain events that have happened in our personal backstories are shaping our concept of the world and just our viewpoint of what's around us. So then how do you break that if you didn't have the greatest of backstories? Maybe that the humble beginnings, maybe family just wasn't the best example to illustrate and to lead the path. How do you break that?
yeah. And so it's a process, and again, such as everything, it's never ending. As someone who grew up with, her own set of adversity and challenges and traumas, I can say to anyone out there, it is possible to grow and to change and to explore it. One of the first steps is that having that awareness of, oh, I can explore. And am I open to changing? And change not having to be becoming somebody else. In fact, something that's beautiful about this work is that we actually start to realize it's more of a becoming of who we always really were. But it was these imprints and experiences that have happened over life that made us forget who we are of our most fulfilled and happy, flourishing self. And so it first begins with the I'm curious. I want to actually explore what would life feel like if I allowed it to be more fulfilling. And I let myself go into those places that maybe feel a little bit more uncomfortable and sticky. And we get to start to look at, I would advise, starting with your own work high level, but this can become deeper work. So having, a trained professional who can support you and hold space to start to look at what are those habits? What are those patterns? What are those beliefs? And being able to start to look at what happened in those earlier years. And we call it rewriting the story. They're deeper processes where we're able to go back to those times and to, rewrite what happened so it can change the belief in lifetime today.
So one of the hats, I want to circle back to a hat that you wear, Reiki master and teacher. Talk a little bit about what does it mean to be Reiki master? What is Reiki for the viewing audience who is not familiar with that? And how do you tie that into the other hats that you wear today?
Yeah, of course. So Reiki is a healing modality that its origins are in Japan from the late 1800s. And it breaks down to two Japanese words. You have Rei, R-E-I, which means universal life force, And then we have Ki, which is like energy, Chi, Prana. So when we bring it together, it's the universal life force energy. And what we do as practitioners is we learn how to be able to open, to have that energy flow through us, to then pass along to whatever or whomever we're working with. And you can think of it almost like we turn on a flashlight and we flood with a lot of bright light. That's just the highest frequency of love, light, and thriving. And it helps us to be able to see what energies may be there stagnant or a busy mind or emotional density. And it helps us to clear it so that the mind, the body, and the spirit can be far more radiant and uplifted. When working with individuals, always with consent, it's not a must have, but it's something where we're able to have this energy flow through the containers, whether it's a group container working one-on-one or a Reiki session in and of itself, where it brings this energy that's always conspiring for the highest good and has extremely high voltage healing properties. It can help to expedite the process and to help to clear the energetics. I've had clients who've had, a session, maybe more in the coaching space, and after one session, they're like, we covered more and I feel lighter, more resolved on something that I've been talking about in therapy for 3 years. And it's because we're bringing in an element of the energetics. We're really getting to the core of the soul level of things where we're not keeping it just in the mind. And I'm pro therapy. I go to therapy as well. This is not an anti-therapy. It's how can we add in addition to it of being able to go deeper into the energetics and truly shift and release things rather than just stay thinking about it in the mind.
Were you exposed to Reiki master teachings through a Reiki session, or was it something that just as soon as you learned about it, it really spoke to you? Because there's so many different mind-body connection approaches out there, and I'm curious what drew you to Reiki sessions and just the teachings of Reiki.
Yeah. Again, I did not choose this path. It chose me. I was in a meditation 13 years ago now. And while I was in a meditation, I heard clear as day, look up healing modalities, you're a healer. And I was like, what? Like, I was a little scared. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what is this voice? But I ended up Googling and I came across Reiki. And when I came across it, I clicked it and a huge wave of energy moved through my body. And then I was really like, I don't know what's happening. So I tried to pretend it didn't happen. 2 days later, I was working out of a bookstore and I was playing on Facebook. I was procrastinating. And someone popped up on the people you might know. And my intuition said, you need to know this person. So I liked on my message. I said, this is weird and bold, but I'm a weird and bold person. I know we're meant to be friends. So we start, clowning around. Personalities, just perfect match. Within 20 minutes, they asked what I was doing. And I said I was working out of said bookstore, my satellite office. I said, oh, interesting. I'm walking in to that bookstore right now. And so immediately we were sitting at the same table within 20 minutes of initiating conversation. I ended up telling him, hey, something happened a few days ago and I haven't told anybody. He said, I guess she's ready. I said, excuse me? He said, you know the saying, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. I'm a Reiki master, so I guess I'll be your first teacher on the journey. And I started receiving sessions, and here we are, 13 years later. Been teaching for 7 years, have over 250 students around the world, and never looked back.
Are you still in touch with your initial Reiki master?
I am. Like light touch points. They're married and Philly and teaching, and in the school system. There's so much life that's happened since then. But yeah, I'll still get a message on the year anniversary of my first level 1 attunement. Which means the time that I was initiated first time to channel and practicing on myself. Also get the happy 6 years, happy 10 years. Yeah.
We've got so much more to cover, including the book that she wrote. First, we're going to take a commercial break. Stay right there.
So in the calm bag, it has GABA, theanine, and taurine. So theanine, which is B1, which is also in our B complex, but it also helps with the stress response levels. It also helps with the neurological transmitters in our brain. Combined with the GABA, and then you add taurine to it. Taurine is a non-essential amino acid in our body, but it's found in our heart, our brain, and our eyes. So in my personal opinion, it's very essential in our lives. But taurine has a calming effect as well. When I was battling all my AFib issues, I was taking high doses of taurine because that would help with my AFib. It would help with the palpitations I was having. And it also helped with the anxiety of having the palpitations because I knew what was going on. And so taurine helps a lot with that as well. So those three together create such a wonderful concoction that just really just calms people down.
Introducing Launchpad, the perfect partner to help you launch your dream project to the world. We know that time is of the essence, and we're here to help you make the most of it. With Launchpad, you'll get access to the most advanced digital tools and strategies to take your idea from a mere concept to a fully fledged success. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a seasoned pro, we have everything you need to make your mark in the world. Launchpad, your ultimate launch partner.
Today, we're talking about empowerment through Heartspace, your Heartspace, and what does it mean to harness that energy into transformation. Our guest today, Kelly Keefe. She's a Reiki master teacher, author, and coach. And before the break, we were talking about some of the profound principles behind Reiki lessons and just the mastery behind this being a profound mind-body connection that's been helpful for so many. And, Kelly, I'm curious. So obviously you delving into this world and trusting the path and having these professional breakthroughs where you are lending your voice and your talents to helping others. At some point in time, you became an author, and I want to talk about your book right now. The title is Rise Above Fear. I want to bring this to our viewing audience's attention. Talk to us about what were the behind the scenes, what led you to decide, let's hit the green light to write the book, and talk to us a little bit about what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is one of those great examples of feeling since I was like a young girl, there's this calling and something more. I wrote my first chapter books and books in third grade. So I always knew there's something in me. And they always say, if you want to tap into your most fulfilling life, think about the things that lit you up as a kid that you wanted to do and start doing more of that. It's a good way to start to bring more fulfillment and find your true calling into your life. And so as I started to really do this transformational work and start to study for myself the understanding of my own operating system, of how the subconscious mind is playing a part here, how is fear playing a part, I really began to hear and understand, oh, I'm here to write. There's a lot here for me to share my voice in speaking and writing, and could feel the immense fear that I had about it. And I was like, oh, how ironic that the first book that I can really feel is wanting to come through after all this study and practice is around fear. And I myself am feeling so much fear about putting the book out there. And so it even says in the preface that this book is not only, a lot of studies and tangible practices that you can write right in the book or do it on the side. So by the end of the book, you've already gone through transformational work. But it also was my process of going through and befriending the fear around putting my first published book out into the world. So it's a really personal book for me in ways of sharing that journey of arriving there. But within the book, it really starts to help us to understand in a really personable, really down to earth, simple way of how do we understand what fear is? On a physiological level, what happens when we're feeling fear? On an emotional level, how can we sense what's happening? And on a vibrational level, bringing in, of course, some of the more energetics and understanding when we're feeling contracted and fear versus those expansive emotions when we're feeling more that trust and bliss and happiness, and brings us through how do we shift the relationship? so we can really befriend it. And again, it's filled with a lot of different practices I use in my group programs and with my one-on-one clients, and different workbooks that I've created over the years to give that lifetime processing.
So I love how you, and I do have a copy here for just to add context for viewers. You know, I love how you come at the concept of fear from different angles, and that it's almost like this level of dissection, and it's like peeling the onion layers per se. And so that really spoke to me about your book. And one thing I'd like to bring to the attention of our audience, I always have this practice of thumbing through and then grabbing an area of an author's book where we can just peek in a little bit more. And of course, obviously on page 42, I've got a copy here. And then you talk about practicing making friends with your fear. And it's not something that I would initially think, oh, I want to make friends with fear, because I'm feeling a certain type of way about fear at that point. But you did write here, you talk, and I just want to do a little snippet here. You write, we don't ever completely banish fear. This is something that's always going to come up when we expand and grow more into our fullest expression. So breathe and know this too shall pass. And dancing with fear will arrive again. Out of the head, into the heart, rising in the truth. Fear lets us know it is time to grow. And on the other side is so much of what we truly desire. Let's love fear. Let's learn to appreciate fear. So I'm begging for you to expand on that. You write, let's love fear. Talk more. What was your thought process behind that? So many of us can struggle with fear.
Yeah. Again, it's this misunderstanding. I really appreciate you sharing of how it's coming at it from these different angles and perspectives. It's a mirroring of how we go about understanding ourselves on a deeper level. Of understanding there's so many different angles and perspectives within ourselves. I like to use the visual of a diamond. And if you shine the light on these different angles, you'll get a different color just depending on the angle that you're shining the light, but it's always still the same diamond. And it's very much so the same thing when looking at ourselves in transformational work, or looking at the concept of fear, where fear has a really bad rep. It's really misunderstood. And so as we start to look at, wow, fear is just an aspect, we call it parts work when we're doing more deeper, therapeutic work and transformational work, parts work. Oh, it's not something that we need to slay or to overcome and to defeat, but rather we can start to say, oh, this is a part that's had its own experience. And we can think of it almost like a little child. Of wow, it just needs love, it needs care and compassion. It needs us to be able to say, I'm here. Tell me more. What are you feeling? And when we can start to approach it from a different angle, then it can get on board with where we're going. The funny thing is where people can think, oh, well, just feel the fear and do it anyway and slay it, which can work for a moment. But if we really want to live in a sustainable, fulfilling way, we need to acknowledge that that part is a part of the team. And we can have long lasting, sustainable change only when all of the parts are truly on board with the change happening. So if we try to bypass a part that's still like, I don't know about this, the change won't stick.
Now, when you think of, say, a challenging moment in life, because I'm curious about your take on this, and say it's an ongoing uphill battle, whether it's something physical or maybe an enormous setback someone is experiencing, and they've just not quite yet navigated through this rough chapter, that it's still, things are still developing, that maybe the outcome has yet to materialize as to what's going to happen next. So what is your favorite approach to handling and to overcoming fear, to rising above the fear, even though the turning points, the turning events are still ongoing, they're still developing?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, if we bring ourselves back to where does fear root from, right? The biggest thing that's happening, if we were to give it a voice, and of course there's going to be different hues of it, but if we really boil it down, there's a part going, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. And it's trying to find a sense of security. And if we're in a space of, I don't know. There's so many moving pieces and everything is changing every single day. And we have no idea, which can be really anxiety inducing. And I really hear that and I feel that. So anyone who's feeling it, just a deep breath real quick. And then a practice that I love to do when I'm working with somebody in this state, one, we just acknowledge, okay, I'm aware there's a lot of information I don't know. One, it brings a piece of acceptance and grounding where the brain is racing, 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 racing. We got to find a solution. We need to find a solution. And we just say, I don't know. And then a powerful practice is to go to, what do you know? Okay, I hear you. We don't know. But what do you know in this moment? Okay, well, I do know that and it might be, things are so up in the air. It may be something as simple as, well, I do know that I am in Florida right now. And I do know that we are safe, or I do know they're getting the best care possible. I do know, and you just go through the list of the things that you do know right now. It starts to help the nervous system to calm a bit, and that reassurance of we do know some things. And it brings a balancing piece of that piece of I want to know. Because the reality is we can't get the answers right this moment. So it's a really powerful practice to shift the focus of the mind, because where our focus goes, energy flows. And so if we can shift the mind to focus on the things that we do know, that can be a nice quick solution and shift to calming the nervous system and changing the energy stream.
So I want to get your opinion on maybe something a little bit more complex, such
Yep.
as someone who's experienced PTSD, or there's been a traumatizing moment, an event where it was just a sudden change of events where life altered forever. What would be best practices to very carefully evolve from being in a fear placed part of your life, and that maybe just the grappling of PTSD like response is part of the landscape? What are some best practices to apply this for a situation like that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, anyone who is in a consistent fear state has experienced or is experiencing intense traumas, first and foremost, work with a professional to support you in those processes. If it's still something that's very alive, the idea of a micro thought of it is sending off the reaction of the trauma response. That's at a level that you're going to want to be working with a professional a little bit closer to have that support system. Whereas maybe if it's something that's not so as alive, it's more like those habits and those patterns, this is something you can dive into on your own. But self-love is the name of the game. So first and foremost, being able to see, is this something we're closer with a professional? But when we start to look at, even before reaching out, again, we bring it back to safety and security. At the end of the day, our being that has this fear is going alive of, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not safe. I don't feel secure here in this moment. So by being able to set a space of, where can we set routine? Where can we really dial into what makes me feel really safe and cozy? It brings in that sense of grounding. Maybe for somebody it's, when I'm feeling that, I love to be able to go and curl up with like a weighted blanket and to be able to take some deep breath and be able to bring myself back to a state of regulation, we call it. It's regulating the nervous system to be able to arrive back to the here and now, but setting ourselves up for success. How can we create a sense of normalcy, of something that can be expected? If there's a trauma that's alive, it's constantly saying, I don't know what's going to happen yet, I'm not safe. So the more we can set some structure and routine to give it a sense of what to expect, that's going to allow much more space of feeling the sense of I'm safe and I'm secure, and then working in parallel with a professional to unpack that and to be able to start to diffuse the emotional and mental charge around it is a great way for someone to begin that journey.
And I want to circle back to the book, kind of continue on in the same space. You talk about 4 different tactics that are part of making friends with fear. And this goes right around, this is after page 42. You talk about number 1, connect with yourself. Number 2, identify the fear. Number 3, go deeper, find the root. And then 4, show compassion for yourself. The deeper portion and go and find the root makes sense to me. I'm pleasantly surprised to see that you highlighted the importance of showing compassion for yourself. Say more about that. Do we not do that enough in life? What's happening that you've noticed?
Yeah, we can be so mean to ourselves. It's so funny where I've had, a friend do this to me before, and I do it often with my friends, so, where I'll be aware, we might be talking, I'll talk of myself, I might be beating myself up over something, and then they would stop and be like, hey, stop talking to my friend Kelly like that. We don't talk to her like that. We can be so critical of ourselves, especially when there's that feeling, the sense of, I could be doing more, I should be doing more, I should have broke that habit already. Again, it comes from this space of, hey, y'all, let's take a deep breath and give ourselves a grace pass. That a lot of how we show up in our lives is based off of things that happen from age 0 to 11 that we're not even aware is still alive and running the show in our day-to-day lives. And so there's a piece of us saying, oh, wait, okay, let me be a little gentler with myself, because this work is also work. Doing the inner work is work. And it takes a lot of being able to hold ourselves with this love and care. Again, think of changing fear from being a scary dragon to slay to, a really vulnerable little boy or girl who is just trying to keep us safe. How would we approach them? And it's with a space of compassion and patience and understanding that, again, allows for change to be sustainable. Because if we approach this work from a place of anything other than compassion and softness, the nervous system and the other parts are going to be like, I don't want to go do that again. But if we can do it from a place of, oh, great job, I got you. Like, this is hard, but you're doing a really great job. You're doing your best. It creates a tone of, this is safe to keep going and keep being with this work.
Do you think that that level of confidence in how we handle situations plays a role? That, that maybe we don't have, for the times in which we don't have experience in handling a situation, that our level of confidence or our ability to see to visualize the outcome that we want, that if it's hard, that's what feeds into the entire picture where someone is grappling with fear?
Yeah, there's a piece of, what's the story we tell? We're meaning-making machines, and that's when we start to be able to look at, what is the meaning we're giving an event in our lives? What is the story we're telling about what's going to happen? And the fear likes to give the story of worst case scenario, worst case scenario, worst case scenario. And then we get to look at the other side and say, but it could be best case scenario. And it could, and that's one of the practices in the book where we start to do the dance between the two to have them meet in the middle. So there's a piece of, one, what's the story we're telling? And then we get to start to look at, what's the inner voice saying? What's the, growing up, do we have support systems around us that said, no, you got this? Or, or were they really enabling where, you depended on everybody else? Or they were just critical and spoke down? So all those pieces are playing a part in it. What is the story and the meaning we're making is conscious mind, which can really start to shift the dial when we say, what am I focusing on? And it'll start to move momentum, and then we might start to still hit that wall. And that's when we get to start to look at the next layer of what's going on that I'm not conscious of.
The book is called Rise Above Fear. Obviously, it's in bookstores everywhere. We're your favorite online bookstore retailer. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Stay right there. We're coming back. Thank you so much for watching The Health Revolution. Our show is growing, and it's all thanks to viewers like you. No matter how you found us, please hit the subscribe button so we can stay connected and continue to deliver amazing content to you.
Hi, I'm Adriana, and welcome to Fit Bites. Today I want to have an important conversation with women in their late 30s and early 40s. It's time to start talking about hormone health, perimenopause, and menopause with your healthcare provider. Now, the median age for menopause is 51, but new research shows that perimenopause, when hormonal levels begin to shift, can start 10 to 15 years earlier. This is new data. That means symptoms like fatigue, mood swings, weight changes, irregular cycles could already be affecting your life without a clear diagnosis. The reality is, many doctors haven't been fully trained on the ever-changing data surrounding menopause and perimenopause. They may not have all the answers right away, but a good doctor will listen, learn, and point you in the right direction. That's why it's so important to use your voice and advocate for yourself. When you meet with your doctor, ask direct questions like, how do you treat menopause patients? And what is the first step to explore my symptoms? Be firm and confident. You're not asking for permission. You're seeking solutions and answers about your own body. Remember, it is 2025 and the science is evolving quickly. What we know about menopause a decade ago is no longer the full picture. It's okay to push for the latest information and options that fit your needs. If one doctor doesn't provide the support you deserve, do not hesitate to seek the opinions of another doctor. Your health journey is unique, and you deserve a provider who listens, learns, and partners with you. Start the conversation today and gain control of your well-being. So ladies, stay informed, stay empowered, and stay tuned for more Fit Bites with Adriana.
We've been spending quality time with our guest today, Kelly Keefe. She's a Reiki master teacher, author, and coach. We had talked about in the last segment her book, Rise Above Fear, that is available, and some practical steps to really embrace it. Look at fear from different angles to begin to address it appropriately in a very healthy way. Also, Kelly, you are the founder of the Heartspace, and talk to us a little bit about what you do, what is the goal of the Heartspace, and what can we expect as the space you represent?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Heartspace was founded in 2016, and this is the space for us to work with individuals or groups through our coaching, through healing, whether it's through the academy, if someone's feeling called to learn how to facilitate Reiki for themselves or to become a practitioner, or someone's just seeking to receive sessions and support in that way. And then we also lead retreats around the globe a few times a year. So this is a great place to find your path of where you're wanting support, to really activate your fullest, most fulfilled self, and to be able to rise in that as an individual or in groups.
And as you've continued to expand, what are some of your goals that you want for those who you work with to receive? What are some things that are important for them to achieve, to overcome, and to really use to grow?
Yeah, it brings me so much joy when I get to see those that I've worked with really living the life that they've always wanted to. I've seen people go for a new promotion or change industries. I've seen relationships truly, blossom, whether it's finding someone completely new, they've been single for so long and they wanted, someone, or there's a breakthrough in the dynamics of their relationship. I've seen money breakthroughs. I've seen people, write the book or step out into the world on things. So it brings me so much joy to see people put the weight down of the things that have been, holding them back, and to truly start to say, wow, I'm living the life I knew deep in my core it was always available, but I wasn't allowing myself to.
So you work with a variety of different people. Talk a little bit about the programs that you have, and I know we have a slide to help represent some of what you've got going on.
Yeah, so if you follow this link, you can also be brought to a variety of different links that's available. This is one of our signature courses, 6 Weeks to Living in Alignment. It really supports an understanding how to find what alignment means for you. It's a very buzzword, but we all have our own unique definition to alignment, and then supporting in the energetics and breaking through how to get there. We also have a Rise Above Fear self-led course. If the conversation today has been really resonating with you on that, I'd highly recommend diving deeper into that, where we go into each of the chapters of the book, We go into the different core fears that we can feel as humans and understand what that is, practical tools for and practices for every core fear that we can feel as humans to be able to go into that. And then you can also explore the group programs we have in individual work as well.
Now, is this both for men and for women? Is there a certain age range, or is it applicable to anyone who is struggling? Can you say more about that?
Yeah, great question. So the self-led courses, of course, are available for anyone who hears the call. This 6 weeks to alignment is available for men and women. The group programs that I lead and my one-on-one work is predominantly women that I'm working with. A lot of the programs are women's only, just for a space of women empowerment and breaking through. Something really special happens when a group of women come together. However, in the one-on-one work, mostly I work with women. However, if a man feels strongly called, male identifying feels strongly called to working together, they can always reach out and we can set up a discovery call and see if we'd be a good fit for one another.
And what do you say to the person who's like, I'm just not sure if it's for me? Are there certain onboarding practices that just allow you to highlight the support that that person can expect from what you have to offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go through all the pages. There's a lot of client testimonials, very in depth of the understandings of what the course will involve. And if you have any further questions, I'd like to make myself very accessible. It's the beauty of having an amazing team around me. It allows me to really stay in my lane of connecting with you to make sure you receive the support you need. So you can absolutely always set up a discovery call. It's free of charge. 20 to 30 minutes where you can ask any questions. I can understand a little bit more about your journey. There's no pressure. It's not a hard sales call. It's really just to support you and being able to see where you're at in your journey and see if we would be a good fit and answer your questions personally and directly.
Now, are those who partake in your program, are they mostly like say in the United States, North America, or is it literally Wi-Fi connection regardless of where you are? What does that look like?
Yeah, I'm blessed to say that we have a global community. So our programs typically have at least one participant in another country. We've had group where at one point it was mostly the United States, but then we had someone in Kuwait, someone in Australia, and someone in Italy, all within this one group. So it is, if you hear the call, we always find a time that will work, especially for the courses or one-on-one work. If you have an internet connection, we got you.
I love that, especially I do believe in that things are no accident when they appear and that information presents to you. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. Stay right there. Welcome back, everybody. Kelly Keefe has been our guest today. We were talking about empowerment through Heartspace, your Heartspace, and that taking that energy and evolving it into transformation. And Kelly, where can we find you in the virtual space?
Yeah, as everyone these days, make myself accessible on multiple platforms, so find what works for you. If you're wanting to connect more on the personal, my Instagram is I am Kelly Keefe. And on there's a little bit more share my own journey and different videos, insight. You can find your way to the Heartspace Instagram through there. It's right in the handle. We also have the Heartspace Facebook that you can go to the Heartspace and just put that into the search and you'll be able to see it and find our logo. And here's more of the Heartspace focused work. And then if you're wanting to connect more on the professional space, you can go to LinkedIn and also put in my name, first and last name, Kelly Keefe. And here I work with executives. I have a weekly newsletter, Leading with Love, that really supports and helping to understand how do we bring this energy of the heart space and empathy and compassion into leadership and in the professional sphere.
I want to bring up your website one last time so that our viewers can see, and obviously this is the umbrella of all of your info, and this will add more context to how someone is navigating to find out more information and all of that. And are you lending your voice in the near future? Will we find you speaking? What does that look like coming up for you?
Yeah, we have some very exciting things coming up. We have a new book launch in the works. There'll be major bookstores. So feel free to find us there and sign up to be the first to know when we'll be launching that. We're finalizing the launch plan before I share any more, but it'll be in major bookstores a little bit later this year. And then I have several workshops in New York and South Florida coming up. And we have our next group program in the works. So definitely, as always, a lot going on. So definitely find your way to one of the channels. You can sign up for our newsletter or just ping me personally and we can keep you in the know.
If there's one takeaway you want our viewing audience to get, one message, what would that be?
Yeah, I think one of the big takeaways I would hope someone receives is the diamond, that visual of it's always the same diamond. Ourselves, we're complex beings, and fear is a complex thing. So just remember, it just depends on the way that you're shining the light. It's showing a different color, but at the end of the day, it's always the same diamond, and it is in fact a diamond.
A lot of impactful information and certainly the hope to overcome ways to overcome fear so that we can just rise to a new level of success. Kelly Keefe, thank you so much for spending time with us today and sharing your input. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And we want to do a quick shout out to our sponsors. We appreciate them for supporting our show, Biomed Mobile IV, Dapper Mobile Apps. We're also looking at Launchpad and Synergize Fitness as well. On the web, you can find us on the internet. Our website is thehealthrevolutiontv.com. There you can certainly subscribe to our newsletter. You can ask us any questions via email that we would love to cover, any show episode ideas that come up for you. Upper corner of your screen, you'll find our QR code. If that's easier for you to grab, feel free to do so. And then, like you can expect, you can find us every Tuesday and Thursday on E360 TV and all the emerging distribution handles that we are on now, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. That is all the time that we have for today. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We will see you soon.